Hello and welcome again to Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. My name is Roy S. Johnson and this is my son Edwyn. Once again, we are going to talk our way through sports and life, what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in life, have a little intergenerational discussion about what we can learn from all of it. How you doing today, son?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, good. It's a crazy time of year. So much going on, so much to talk about. So let's get right to it. Just a couple of days after we did our last episode, Deshaun Watson was finally traded from the Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns. Not only was he traded, but Cleveland signed him to this crazy 4-year, $230 million contract, and they gave up the farm. I mean, they gave up a couple farms. I mean, the Texans get 3 first-round draft picks, a third-round pick, and 2 fourth-round picks. So what's that? 3, 4, 5, 6 picks. The Browns get Deshaun and a 6th-round pick. I'm sorry, that was a 5-year contract, fully guaranteed. I mean, this is crazy because the Browns are going to be shelling out for Deshaun and Myles Garrett. You know, they're in rusher $71 million a year. I mean, what do you think of this trade? Did they give up too much? Are they locking themselves in on somebody? I mean, this dude hadn't played in a minute, but man, they really betting the farm on Deshaun Watson. What do you think about that?
I think this was a good trade. I think it was necessary. And yes, he hasn't played in a minute. He's 26 years old. Definitely a top 10 quarterback when he is playing. And they looked for an upgraded quarterback from Baker Mayfield. And if they had an opportunity to trade him, get rid of him, they would do that to get a better quarterback in a heartbeat. And the opportunity presented itself. They have all the weapons. They have everything else a quarterback could want. You have an offensive line. You have receivers. You got another receiver in Amari Cooper. You have Jarvis Landry. You have tight ends. You have a run game. You know, you have Nick Chubb. You have Kareem Hunt. So everything is there for him to succeed, especially with the type of quarterback that he is. He can throw the football. He can run. He's athletic. So everything is there because, again, there's really no excuses for Baker's, poor performance overall because, again, you have all the weapons there. There's no excuses. So I don't know what happened to, and again, the Heisman was in college. It's in college. It doesn't have anything to do with NFL, but, so.
Yeah, and it's hard you can't do this without it. I mean, the football fan can break down all the numbers, say it's an upgraded quarterback, they have all the weapons, but we can't ignore the fact that the reason he wasn't playing was because of an array of sexual misconduct allegations that a grand jury recently decided not to prosecute him for, which made him eligible to come back. But even though the grand jury decided not to prosecute him, he still has 22 civil lawsuits hanging over his head for sexual misconduct. Not surprisingly, some groups have come out and criticized the trade, criticized letting him play while these allegations are still out there. I mean, obviously, they will more than likely be settled, and he'll have to write some checks. But how do you balance the player versus the person? And is it worth it? I mean, it's worth $230 million on the field. Is it worth it off the field to have the face of your franchise, your quarterback, be someone who has these civil lawsuits hanging over their head, even though a jury decided not to prosecute him? How much is it going to cost the Browns just in terms of their public image to have Deshaun Watson a quarterback?
Well, first of all, he wasn't playing even before those allegations. He wasn't playing way before, honestly, right after the Texans had traded DeAndre Hopkins. And that's because he wasn't happy. But once this happened later on, that was added on to the reason for him not to be on the field for over a year. And they're going to get a lot of criticism for it. Believe me, they are. They're going to have a lot of people, a lot of women, just groups of people doing that. But at the same time, I mean, are we going to go by innocent until proven guilty as a people, as a culture in this country? Are we going to do that? Because, again, 22 is a lot. Not because, again, if it was 1 or 2, it's one thing. 22, yes, that's a lot. I'm not going to lie. That is a lot. But, again, are we not supposed to go by innocent until proven guilty? the man was away from the game for a while because of this, and again other reasons that actually had to do with the game of football. They're looking at, to be honest with you, not to say that they don't care, but they're looking to move on to make their team better. And you look at him, he is a quarterback, a player capable of winning you football games.
And I'm really interested to hear from him. We haven't really heard from him yet. So he's some point is going to have to really come out and make some public statements about what he's been through, how he feels. Even though a grand jury decided not to prosecute him, to levy any charges, I wonder if he's a changed man. I mean, he's really got to be a changed man based on what he went through, some of the actions that he says were consensual. Cool. That doesn't make him right. So I really want to hear from him. And I think it's important for him to demonstrate that he's a changed man. But going back to the trade too, we often like to get into some intergenerational stuff. It'll be interesting to see down the line if this trade stacks up to what I recall and remember, and what many people call one of the worst trades of all time. And that's when the Dallas Cowboys, October 12th, 1989, were able to unload Herschel Walker for what Jerry Jones still calls the Great Train Robbery. They got 3 draft picks and 5 active players, which they transformed into 18 players, including Emmitt Smith and Darrell Woodson, and built a foundation of a team that won 3 Super Bowls in the 1990s. Whereas Herschel ended up doing nothing for the team that traded for him. So the Great Train Robbery happened in 1989. I know that was before you were born, but right now it'll be interesting to see who really gets the best out of this deal, because Cleveland clearly is betting its future on Deshaun Watson. And you alluded to this a little early on. Just a couple of years ago, Baker Mayfield led Cleveland to the playoffs. So the first time they had reached the playoffs, first time they'd won a playoff game since 1994. He did not have a great season last year. He threw just 17 touchdowns with 13 interceptions and completed just 60% of his passes, which is not NFL quality. I mean, he was rated by some as, like 38th in the league when there's only 32 starting teams or something. I mean, it was just, he did not have a great year. Did they give up on him too soon? And now that they've already given up on him, what happens to Baker Mayfield next? A lot of teams where we mentioned early on, New Orleans has moved on. Atlanta seems to have moved on. Indianapolis has moved on. Clearly, all the places that we've talked about, maybe Carolina has moved on too. But where does he end up now? Or does Baker Mayfield have to take a step back, go be a backup somewhere, and wait for an opportunity maybe when somebody gets hurt?
Well, opportunity just means to simply be a quarterback. I mean, you could say it's a starting quarterback. You could say backup. He has plenty of opportunities to be a backup, and that's a possibility that he might have to face. Starter, the chances are slim right now. And I do think, I'm going to be honest with you, I do think Cleveland gave up on him too soon. I really do, because, again, I think last year was year 4 for him. Year 4, I believe it was. So, yeah, maybe they did give up too soon. And again, they did make the playoffs with him. He had some good games too. There are plenty of places. New Orleans still is a possibility, even though
they just signed Jameis. What do you mean as a backup?
They signed him. No. Yeah. Well, as a backup, but at the same time, the possibility to compete to start is there though also, because although you signed him as your quarterback, but I don't think they really signed him necessarily as their starting quarterback though. Even though between him and Taysom Hill, those two are going to go at it. He's probably going to get the starting job again. If Baker comes there though, I think it's a little bit close though.
Okay.
And he would have a fair shot there. Now, Atlanta, again, Matt Ryan is in Indianapolis now. So those chances right there are very big. And I think even with Carolina also, because I think they still do have Cam. But again, at this point in Cam's career, because again, they signed him towards the end of the year, because most of the year he was gone once New England had cut him for Mac Jones. So honestly, that's another destination where he would have a fair shot also to compete to be a starter.
Yeah,
and
it seems to me like Seattle might be the only place where he really, if they signed him, where he would be slotted in as the starter. I think anywhere he goes, he's going to have to compete. He's going to have to demonstrate early on that he's capable of leading a team to the playoffs. So there's rumors floating around out there that Pittsburgh might even sign him. Might sign him as either a backup or at least somebody who can compete and put some pressure on the guy they just signed to be the starting quarterback. So, there's some possibilities, like is anything, and in life, Baker Mayfield has to be patient. He has to focus on the good things that he's done in his career and believe in himself and take that confidence to whatever team is going to give him an opportunity to reclaim the status of being a number one pick, a first round quarterback. Because he's only 27, I believe. So he's still young. 27. He has got plenty of years to try to reclaim and put this in his rear view mirror. As we often say, every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. So right now, Baker Mayfield has a real opportunity for a comeback. All right, let's switch sports a little bit before we come back to football. What is up with LeBron? I mean, LeBron seems like he has found the fountain of youth, at least when it comes to scoring. He has been on a tear of late. I mean, obviously the Lakers have been struggling. There have been a lot of questions about their ability to make a strong run in the playoffs. So what's up with LeBron? Is he going to be enough to take the Lakers further than people believe that they can go?
I don't think he is enough. And again, the fountain of youth, this man is in shape. I mean, regardless his age, and believe me, there is a lot of wear and tear in his body. That's why if you look at the last 2 years, he really has missed games off of injury due to injury. But the fountain of youth continues to come back for him. And again, he still has athleticism in his body too as well. You knew he was going to, like I said, second all-time in scoring. You knew that was going to happen within the next 2 years, because I'm pretty sure he's going to still be able to play at this level within the next 2 years. He's definitely going to be the all-time leading scorer, regardless.
Let's talk about that. Let's break it down, because so right now, so he just passed. He just placed Malone for number 2. So the only person that is in front of him is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So here are the numbers. He needs 1,402 points as of today. He needs to average. He typically averages about 27 points a game. So if he stays at that level, 27 points a game, he would need 52 games to pass Kareem. So you think he's going to play another couple of years? He could possibly do that. He may not average 27, but if he does, he could pass Kareem 42 games into next season. Do you think he'll do it that early?
That early, maybe not. And it's hard to say, because he's capable of doing that. He might not do it that early, but later during that season, no, he's going to do it regardless, however long it takes. He's going to do it.
Okay, so we will have a moment like this. Let me share something with you. It was on April 5th, 1984, almost more than a decade before you were born, in Utah, when Kareem broke the all-time NBA scoring record. And guess who was there at courtside?
You were.
Your daddy, right? So if anybody goes onto YouTube and Googles this moment, you'll see this kid in a beige and purple sweater on the sideline, holding up 2-3 fingers, trying to determine whether Kareem was doubled or triple teamed. Turns out he really wasn't. But I was there for that moment. I got the screenshot of it. So we're going to have another moment like this. That was 1984 when this record has stood that long. And hopefully Kareem will be there. And I'm sure Kareem will celebrate with LeBron, particularly if LeBron is still a Laker. So that we could look forward to that in 2022-23 NBA season. So let's go back to football a little bit.
Okay.
Where did Malik Willis come from? I mean, all of a sudden on my timeline, everybody's timeline, popped up this video of this kid, pivoting. He was obviously having a pro day. This is the Liberty quarterback having his pro day. He whips the ball 65 yards in the air. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about Malik Willis as a potential first-round draft pick. Now, Malik Willis went to Auburn, was recruited by Gus Malzahn, didn't play very much, has admitted that he was pretty immature at the time, that he didn't spend time in the film room. And so he left, he transferred and went to Liberty. had a couple of good seasons with Liberty, and clearly is an athlete. I mean, he was a 3-star recruit quarterback. I think he was recruited as an athlete, but he really wanted to play quarterback. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about Malik Willis. Is this a first-round quarterback? And where do you think Malik Willis is going to end up? I guess there were 2 head coaches there, including Mike Tomlin from Pittsburgh. So Mike Tomlin is all over the place. Where do you think Malik Willis is going to end up?
Well, first of all, I'm thinking the possibility of maybe mid, if not late first-round pick. And that's the earliest, possibly going to the second round. And again, Pittsburgh is a strong possibility, especially if Mike Tomlin does like him too. And I think he definitely is going to be a good fit there because, again, to have young legs there, to have a guy who clearly is capable of throwing the football, one, but to include him with Najee Harris and have the read option in there as well too, I think that gives them a burst of energy. Again, the big thing for Pittsburgh is getting the offensive line, whoever's going to be a quarterback. That's one. But definitely to him, I think even Atlanta, because again, I think that's similar. Atlanta's familiar with a quarterback of that skill with Michael Vick, so they might go that route too. Also, that's another possibility. Seattle might be another possibility too, honestly.
I mean, it's fascinating because unless you were a hardcore football fan, you probably didn't know much about Malik Willis, but where he goes is going to be one of the most fascinating stories in the NFL draft, the upcoming NFL draft. And now, I mean, he's on the name of everybody's lips because I think the perception is this is a pretty weak draft for quarterbacks, that you're not going to see a superstar come out of this draft. So right now, the biggest name in quarterback you're hearing is Malik Willis. And, this is really a story too about perseverance. I mean, we both played sports and we both understand that you're going to have your ups and downs. Here was a guy who, like many players, didn't live up to his potential at his first stop, and he could have quit. He could have gone someplace and been selfish, maybe put up some numbers, but really, you have to balance between quitting something and then still having perseverance. As you know now in sports, sometimes it is good to transfer, sometimes the fit is not there. But if he is drafted in the first round and is given an opportunity to play in the NFL, to play quarterback in the NFL, whether or not he's a great success, he's a real testament to perseverance, a real testament to not giving up, a real testament to looking back and learning from your mistakes, learning from your deficits, learning from the things you didn't do well, and still building on those, correcting those and building on them and giving yourself a chance to succeed. Any thoughts on that? Yeah,
I mean, it's just his love for the game. If this is his true passion in life, if this is his dream, then you're never going to give up on your dream, for one. And two, like you said, as he was recruited as an athlete again, and I think that's why the transfer portal so, I'm not going to say important because I'm not always for guys transferring, but sometimes it is necessary. And so many guys are doing it now and eventually go to another school, whether it be a bigger or smaller school, and they end up playing. And again, it's very popular now. What I will say is whether it's the first round or second round, I believe there's going to be an opportunity for him that's going to come fairly quickly in a good amount of time wherever he goes. Because again, right now there are a few teams where he has an opportunity to, really be that quarterback.
I think everybody will be rooting for him too. Again, because he didn't get his dream fulfilled early on, but he went someplace else, went below the radar, and now he has a great opportunity. So everybody's rooting for Malik Willis. Of course, we can't leave without talking about March Madness. A pretty good first and second round. Nothing too extravagant. There were no, major great shining moments, but we got to start by talking about 2 women that I think stole the first and second rounds of March Madness. The first one, I got to go to my Stanford Cardinal and go to a junior named Fran Belibi, who blocked a shot in a first round blowout of Montana State and drove the floor and dunked the ball. Now this is a big deal for women's basketball. It's only the 3rd dunk in NCAA women's tournament history. I think it was the 3rd of her career. It was really exciting, not just to see her do it, but see the reaction of her teammates and her fans. Obviously, this is a team I'm rooting for. It's a number 1 seed. Some people think that right now they're the best team in that's still remaining in the tournament in the Sweet 16. But you had to love a moment like that to just see the sister come down. She blocked the shot. She picked it up. And she just cupped it. Most people say, well, women's hands are too small, the ball's a little small. She cupped that ball and put it up there. Did you enjoy seeing that?
I did. And again, she wasn't the first to do it. She is not going to be the last. Last time in NCAA, the first woman I saw to dunk in the NCAA was Candace Parker. And again, she was the fourth woman to see dunk with one hand too. Again, I've seen Lisa Leslie do it. I've seen Candace Parker do it, both in college and the pros. And then she was the fourth. I forgot who the other one was, but anytime a woman can dunk like that, it's definitely going to be exciting. It's going to spark her team up. I mean, even when men dunk, it's always going to spark it, give you excitement too, and give you that energy too. Now, they are definitely, I would say, the top 3 team in the tournament, because I don't think they're better than South Carolina. I don't think they're better than UConn. And again,
some folks are saying South Carolina didn't play too well in those first 2 rounds. They did okay, but they're a little shaky on offense right now. But it'll all work itself out in the next couple of weeks. Still rooting for South Carolina as well. Love their coach, Dawn Staley. But the other woman I want to talk about today is Cassidy Kearney. Now, Cassidy is not a player. She's not someone who's a point guard or a center. She's a cheerleader for Indiana. And the best moment of the first round was when their game, when Indiana was playing, and the ball got stuck at the top of the backboard. Now, we've seen that before, but I've never seen a time when they couldn't reach it. I thought maybe they'd throw a ball up there to bounce it down. But Kearney, did that classic cheerleader move. I think it was a guy named Nathan Paris was another cheerleader, male cheerleader, took her on his 2 hands, lifted her up, and she was able to retrieve the ball. So let's hear it for Cassidy Kearney, who was the hero of the first round. And the best thing about this now is that she signed an NIL deal. Cassidy has her own t-shirt that says "The Cheerleader Saved the Day." There it is. So I love the fact that athletes and student athletes can have these NIL deals as name, image, and likeness. But here's a great one where a cheerleader has her own t-shirt. So you see right there where you can get it. The proceeds will go to her and to this company. But let's cheer for her too, because she did definitely save the day. All right, so now to the rest of the tournament. I mean, like I said, it was okay. I mean, obviously to me, St. Peter's, being from Jersey City, is now the Cinderella. They're the team that people are rooting for. This is a team that comes from a small town outside of Philadelphia, in that New York northeastern area. Most people had never heard of them. They've got a good young coach who's been there for 4 years and has been great at really recruiting solid players and getting them to play together. And they really believe in themselves to the extent that they are just able to pull off upsets. And it's like, look, he said, we're from Jersey City. Oh, you think we're scared? So I love St. Peter's. What can you tell us about St. Peter's, and what do you think of their chances to continue on in the tournament?
They definitely are the Cinderella team of the year. I'll say that. And again, I don't know much about them because I didn't hear about them until the tournament. Mm-hmm. One thing I will say, I don't know if they're going to get past the Sweet 16, though. Whoever they play, I don't know, because I don't know who they're playing. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't think, and if they do, and they go to the Elite 8, you're definitely going to have to give them a lot of credit, give them a lot of respect, because again, every year you're going to have a Cinderella team or two, and this just so happens that they are the one for this year, this tournament. But
yeah, there's no question. I mean, they've got their work cut out for them. They're playing 3 seed Purdue. So, Purdue's going to be a big, strong team. They always are, be very physical. The good thing is that teams have some rest, right? They have some rest between rounds. So I think it'll be a good game. I think they've already, they beat number 7 Murray State, and they beat number 2 Kentucky, and beat them solidly. Beat Murray State by 10 and beat Kentucky by 6 points. They were all close games, but they had the strength, both mental and physical strength, to win the games towards the end. That's usually what happens to a lot of teams that aren't quite as talented, that just the physical pressure of playing in the tournament, playing bigger, stronger teams, and those things usually combine to wear them down at the end. You did see some top seeds who survived in the last 1 or 2 minutes, just because they were better and they were stronger, mostly stronger mentally. You always root for the underdog, but man, it's tough to get that clock down to 0 and have your team be ahead if you're playing a better team. So St. Peter's will have to be strong mentally as well as physically to not let Purdue get out too early, so that St. Peter's has to mount a comeback and be in the game so that they can win the last 2 minutes. Regarding the other teams, I found this interesting stat. I know we talked about Gonzaga a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people don't respect them. I found this. You know who has the most NCAA tournament wins over the last 10 years?
Apparently Gonzaga.
Gonzaga, right? They got 24. So they're not just a fly-by-night team that some people say that, well, from the conference they're in, it doesn't really prepare them for the tournament. BS, right? 24 wins. Michigan has 23, Villanova 20, North Carolina 20, and Duke 20. All those others solid, consistent NCAA tournament teams, but Gonzaga with 24 NCAA tournament wins in the last 9 or 10 years has more than any of them. And of course, close by talking about Mike Krzyzewski. That's what the other storyline that everybody's watching. He's been coaching for 42 years. Has said this is his swan song. I mean, they held on to beat Michigan State in the Sweet 16, but their whole season now comes down to this. So everybody's watching sort of for the final moment, the last hurrah for Mike Krzyzewski. Where do you think, Mike, and this may be a tough question because we didn't talk about it, where do you think he ranks among college coaches? I mean, when you think about Krzyzewski, I know in your lifetime, there aren't too many names, maybe Bobby Knight and some others, but you've got Jim Boeheim now at Syracuse. But, how do you think Mike Krzyzewski would be remembered in that group?
In a lot of people's eyes, he is the greatest. In a lot of people. If he's not he's definitely the top up there. And again, I'm a UConn fan, so I love Jim Calhoun. But again, he has more championships, one. Definitely has had a lot of first-round picks, a couple of number 1 picks, too, at that, whether it's been Kyrie or Zion, or, he's coached Grant Hill. So, I mean, the man, when you talk about success at that level, not too many people. And again, he has definitely top 3 most wins, too, in NCAA history as well, too, with Jim Calhoun as well. I will say that. And again, other than Jim Calhoun, I know my other favorite college coach, well, 2 favorite college coaches of all time, or excuse my bad, y'all, I'm forgetting my words and stuff. But I was gonna say my other 2 favorite coaches were Roy Williams, and again, he retired last year for coaching the Tar Heels. Mm-hmm. Definitely was one of my favorite. And as you said, Mike Krzyzewski too. So I think, again, some people say that you got to remember too, he also coached the Olympics as well too. You have to remember that. That's another thing too. And again, I know that's not college, but that is just another accomplishment. Shows how great of a coach he is too, to coach the greatest players of all time in the world, whether it's been LeBron, Kobe, D Wade, Carmelo, the list goes on.
I mean, there's so many great coaches. The guy at the top of the pyramid for me is John Wooden, right? I mean, John Wooden at UCLA really set the standard for coaches, but there's been so many great coaches. Just while you were talking, I looked up, top college coaches of all time. I mean, and of course you got, as I said, Wooden, you got Bobby Knight, Bob Knight from Indiana. You've also got Bill Self at Kansas. You had Jay Wright at Villanova, Denny Crum at Louisville, Jerry Tarkanian with the towel in Vegas. Who really ramped up that school and made them a brand name school in terms of college basketball. But maybe one of these days, maybe at the end of the tournament, we'll talk about who's on the Mount Rushmore of college coaches, college basketball coaches. Who is on the Mount Rushmore? He's there. I got to throw John Thompson's name in there too. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say John Thompson, definitely one of my favorite coaches of all time too. He's there as well. But no, when it comes to the Mount Rushmore, Coach K is there. All right. So anybody who watches this, put in the comments who's on your Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches, and we'll check that out before the end of March Madness. So Edwyn, as always, it was great talking to you. Great to hear your perspective. Look forward to the next time. A lot of things going on, a lot of things to talk about. We'll be at the Elite Eight, down to the Final Four. We're getting close to the NFL draft. So, just keep growing, keep, making me proud, keep enjoying life, and keep balling. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.